Hi, good morning. It is very early in the morning here. This is the only time I could manage to film this video, so hopefully my morning voice isn't too groggy and my tummy doesn't growl too loudly. But it has been kind of on my heart to sit down and film this video, just like a chit-chat video, laundry folding type video. I have a small basket of laundry, but I've actually been keeping up with one load of laundry a day, so I'm totally caught up on laundry. But I just wanted to sit down with you and chat kind of as if you had come over to my house for coffee and we were talking about mom stuff, because when you're a mom, it's just really nice to be talking to other moms who are going through the same thing. Toss back and forth ideas and wisdom and experiences, share stories and encouragement, and that's really what I want this video to be. So I went over to Instagram and I got some questions from you guys, and as I was going through these questions, I was praying for each and every one of you, because I would say 90% of the questions were questions coming from moms who are struggling right now and desperately asking for advice. I felt a lot of desperation when reading these, and it broke my heart. And I just want to encourage you, if you're watching this, if you're struggling right now, there are millions of other moms in the world right now who are going through exactly what you're going through. You are not alone. I just want to bring a lot of encouragement to you guys today. So grab a cup of coffee, grab a basket of laundry, and let's just sit down and talk and spend some time together this morning. I have so many questions saved. I'm going to try and get to as many as possible, but I might not be able to. I might have to save some for a part 2 or just like another mom talk video. Wrestling with feeling like I'm not doing enough to help further my baby with milestones. In society today, I feel like there is so much pressure, especially from doctors. You can feel it from other moms on social media. There's pressure everywhere for babies to reach certain milestones by certain ages and to be doing it in a very specific way. And I wish it wasn't that way. It shouldn't be that way. Like, no two people are alike. Everyone develops so differently, has different interests, different skills, but for some reason, in that first 3 years of life, children are expected to be exactly alike. And I just don't understand. I didn't walk until I was 18 months old. Zach walked before he was 1. I know babies who walked at 8 months old, and I can't even fathom that. That seems wild to me. I met someone who said their baby didn't walk till she was almost 2. They will figure it out in their own time when they are ready. How do you do it all? Between cleaning, dinner, and my son, I always feel so overwhelmed. Well, I have help. I have Zach at home most days. I mean, he's really busy doing his own thing, but he is here to help me when I need it. We have family who live close by who can watch the kids for an evening here and there. Every week the kids go to their Gammy's house for the day, which is actually today, so that we can sit down and work and get things done, or Zach can work on renovations, or we can go on a day date. Like, it's lovely to have that help. But also, and this is something I struggle with all the time, is just realizing your life does not revolve around getting things done. Yes, it feels fantastic when you can do everything on your to-do list, but in the future, looking back, I would be so sad if I knew that I wasted away my children's entire childhood focusing on just getting things done and not focusing on spending time with them. Absolutely, it's overwhelming. It is very overwhelming because the tasks are constant. Like, there's never a break, a relief from the duties that a mama has. Some things that can help are, focusing on one task at a time, writing to-do lists, reasonable to-do lists, nothing crazy, planning out your week, meal prepping, and getting into a cleaning routine or a daily routine in general. Those are some things that we have done that have really, really helped us out. How do you balance work from home and being present? This is tough, and this is something I've struggled with my entire motherhood journey, because I have worked from home this entire time, and it's the biggest blessing. Truly it is. But it's hard when you're trying to both work and be a mom all at once. You can't do both things at once and fully be present in each of those roles. So what I do is I dedicate certain times where I am work mom and certain times when I'm mom. That way I can be fully present when I'm working, I can be fully present with my children, And especially when I'm present with my children, trying so hard not to focus on work, not to focus on, you know, the things that I need to do or film or photograph or edit, and just focus on them. I want kids, but I'm somewhat on the fence about it. Any advice? Prayer. Always my first advice is prayer. Take it to the Lord and He will direct your path. Personally, I am a big fan of children. I mean, being a mom is all I ever wanted. And kids are such a blessing. But I know it's not for everyone. We were not all created to be moms or dads. I wish I could say like, yes, you should have kids, but that's not my place to say. So my only advice is just pray. Did you ever get mastitis? I never did. I know people who have and who have had it frequently, and it sounds awful. And I'm so sorry to all the moms who've gone through mastitis. Have you found yourself raising Theo and Eloise differently? Yes and no. We're obviously raising them with the same values, raising them to be polite and to be kind and to be selfless and serve, and you know, all the good things. Teach them the fruits of the Spirit, you know, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control. That's actually a really good memory verse that I should do with my kids. We have done some things differently, like we potty train them differently. With every child, there's going to be an element of difference in the way that you raise them. But I wouldn't say we raise them that differently. How do you cope when it gets overwhelming? So many questions like that. I would say probably 80 to 90% of the questions I got were this exact question. Lots of mamas struggling with just feeling overwhelmed. And honestly, this is something I've struggled with so much myself. It's a constant battle. When things start to feel overwhelming, I try and remove myself from the situation for a moment, whether physically or just mentally, and I'll just assess the situation. What needs to happen right now and what can wait? Who needs my attention the most right now and who can wait, and prioritize accordingly. A few go-to things that I'll do is either get them involved with what I'm doing, send them outside if it's nice enough outside. I have a few books and toys that I have reserved for overwhelming moments. Books and toys that are not toys they play with very often or they see very often, so it feels new to them and exciting to them, and it entertains them for a little while. I stick them in the bathtub. Water's always great, a great form of entertainment, clean form of entertainment. Or sometimes I'll just turn on the TV, and I really try not to do that, but there are times when that's all I can think or manage to do, and that's okay. Were you worried about not being able to build any sort of career skills having children so young? I never really had a career in mind. In fact, that's something I struggled with a lot out of high school, is just figuring out what I wanted to do. And I think I was struggling with that because the Lord was like, you're not going to be doing a career. You're not going to have a career. You're going to be a mom. Obviously back then I didn't know that. All I've ever wanted to be is a mom. So I never really thought about what career I wanted to have. So it wasn't really much of a loss to me. Are you scared to get pregnant again after William's pregnancy? I'm not. And that is only by the grace of God. Thinking back, his pregnancy was rough, physically and mentally, but I am not afraid to get pregnant again. In fact, I'm feeling the baby fever coming back. If not too personal, how important is it to you that your kids have your faith? It is extremely important to me. However, it is not up to me to decide what they're going to believe in. They will choose for themselves whether they want to follow the Lord or not. It is up to us as parents to equip them with everything that they need, to teach them everything they need to know, but it is not up to us to decide for them. If they choose not to believe, that is not going to change my relationship with them. It is not going to make me love them any less. How do you deal with not ever having alone time anymore? Not very well. Alone time is so important to me, which is why I get up at 5 a.m. Here we are. There are seasons of motherhood, like newborn life, or even like the last while William has been awake. Last night he was awake 3 times, just wanting to nurse, wanting to be near me. I can get really like touched out. Like I don't want anyone near me. I don't want to be touched. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to have a conversation. And I just need some time alone to completely recoup and reevaluate and just be alone. And I can definitely tell if there is a season where I'm really not getting any time alone whatsoever. I'm not my best self. So I really try and make that a priority and make time for myself, whether that means sacrificing sleep or having somebody watch the kids for a while I go and do my own thing, or whatever that is. I make it a priority. My sister is pregnant, the first in her family. How can I support her the best? That's a great question, and what a servant heart to ask something like that. That's really sweet. There are so many things that you can do to support. You can just listen to what she has to say. I mean, when I'm pregnant, I've got a lot to say. All I want to do is talk about pregnancy. And now that I'm a mom, all I want to do is talk about my kids. Just listen. Things like cooking a meal, huge. That goes a long way, even if it's just like one supper, or bringing over lunch, or bringing over breakfast one day. It goes a long way. When do you get business work done? Trying to balance work and a 4-month-old. My work happens when the kids are asleep. There are days like today when my mother-in-law is watching the kids that I can also get some work done. Although William is still at home, so it gets a little bit challenging, but sometimes in the morning, although I try and reserve mornings mostly just for myself, I get like maybe 1 or 2 hours in the afternoon to work then, and then in the evenings. And we're in a season right now where we have to work almost every evening from like 8 o'clock once the kids are in bed till 11 p.m. at night. That's the only time that we can do it right now, and that's okay. It's a season. I would rather be spending my time with my children when they're awake than focusing on work and then sacrificing a little bit of my me time in the evening to do the work I need to do. How do you create peace of mind with your baby sleeping in a separate room? It was actually really hard for me, especially when Eloise was a baby, to have her separate from me. And I think it's because I tried to do it too early. I was desperate. I was in a very desperate situation with her. But with my other kids, I waited until I was ready. And for me, that was like 6-7 months or so. And then I have them in a room next to me. For a while, I used a monitor. I don't anymore because I have, that peace of mind knowing he's okay, he's fine. But I mean, really, I just waited until I felt that we were both ready for that little bit of separation. Do you ever feel like you need some space from your kids? All the time. For me, being an introvert, like I said earlier, I need some time alone. And sometimes I'll let them know, like, hey, mama needs a little bit of space right now. Let's go get you playing with something, and I'm gonna be over here for a little bit. Yeah, totally. Us moms need a break every once in a while just to like mentally reset. Something you wish you knew with your first kid that you learned from the second and third. Like everything. With my first, I was so new to motherhood. I was so young. I really didn't have a lot of experience with babies or kids in general. I had to learn everything the hard way. And every new milestone or problem or situation I ran into with her, I was at a loss and I didn't know what to do. So honestly, everything. But I think the biggest thing would be just letting go. Yeah, just letting go of some of my expectations and not listening so much to what all of the moms are saying to you, because I know a lot of moms mean well when they offer advice, but sometimes it's just too much, especially for a new mom. If you know a new mom and you know that maybe she's struggling a little bit, or even if she's not, befriend them, talk to them, listen to them, but don't offer advice until they ask you for it. That's not what the question was, but I felt that needed to be said. How do you plan to approach discussing the hard topics in life with your kiddos? I saw a reel on Instagram a while back that kind of answered this question. I'm like, that is brilliant. Even now, we are starting to talk about the hard topics with our children. It's a constant discussion, and as they get older, we'll add little bits to it. Like right now, it's talked about, but it's not in its full glory. Does that make sense? As the kids get older, we'll add bits and pieces to it to teach them and educate them on all hard topics in life, because my parents and Zach's parents avoided hard topics, and when we learned about some of the hard topics in life, like, it was a shock and it was really hard to wrap our heads around. And so I think instead of not saying anything and then dumping everything on our kids, I think it's wise to start the conversation young and slowly add more to it as they grow older. And I feel like this needs to be said, I'm not telling anyone what they should do. Everyone is going to feel differently about everything. I am simply saying what we have chosen to do with our children. How do you navigate the jealousy of older siblings when new baby needs attention? Okay, here's another thing I saw on Instagram. I'll leave a couple Instagram pages down below with like really great motherhood advice. I don't agree with everything that they say, but a lot of it is really helpful. And this one that I was watching was talking about not creating the jealousy within your children, just in the way that you talk to them. So say you need to nurse the baby, but your child wants your attention, like, can we go for a walk to the park? And your answer will likely be, yes, we can go to the park, I just need to feed the baby first. And that starts to create the jealousy, right? Because baby needs attention before I get attention. So to avoid a little bit of that jealousy, you can answer it in the same way, just avoid that last part of your answer. So you could say, yes, we can go, just give me 5 minutes or 10 minutes or however long it takes to nurse. Now, this is something I read recently. So I don't have a lot of experience with this specific piece of advice, but it sounds logical and it sounds brilliant to me, so that is what I'm going to start doing from here on out. How do you handle relatives who might disagree with your parenting choices? Honestly, we've never run into that. We're really fortunate to have families who are very supportive. I know there are a lot of people online who are watching who have let me know that they don't think I'm doing the right thing, which it's bizarre to me because they're not that child's parent. So who are they to think that they know how to parent our children better than we do? You know? I think I would just nod and smile and ignore whatever information they spoke to me. Or at least that's what I do when I get comments trying to tell me what I should be doing differently. Nod and smile and just ignore whatever they said. How did you set up William's nap time schedule? I'm a new mama and I'm curious. It took us probably 10 months to finally create a nap schedule. And honestly, it just kind of happened on its own. For some reason, like after William was born, we were just in this like helter-skelter, no routine whatsoever, and no matter how hard we tried, we couldn't get into a routine stage of life. But nap time just naturally fell into place eventually. I mean, it looks different in every stage of life. With Theo, Zach was still working at that time. It was just me at home. I'm a work from home mom. I needed that middle of the day, that nap time, work time desperately. I molded his naps so that he would have a little nap in the morning and a longer nap in the afternoon at the same time as Eloise, and it worked real great. But now, because Zach is home, we just kind of let the naps fall into place naturally. So very often, he'll have a nap in the morning until about noon, and then the oldest two have their quiet time in the afternoon when William is awake, and then when the oldest two come out of quiet time, William goes into nap time. So there's constantly a child with us, which isn't a bad thing, but that's just kind of how it's worked for now, and we can do it that way because Zach is home, and it just works. How to teach young children self-control? I don't know. It's so hard for little children to understand and practice self-control. It's something that they will have to just constantly be learning and growing into. It's not something that they can just learn overnight. It takes a lot of patience and a lot of trying and reminding. So just keeping that conversation going, like that reminder going, like this is a great time to practice self-control. Showing them how to practice self-control. Like if one child wants the toy that the other child is playing with, that child needs to wait until this child is done playing with the toy before they can play with the toy. And that's so hard for them to practice that self-control of waiting because they want that toy so badly. So try to distract them, like let them know you can have that toy when that person is done, but until then, practice self-control. You can practice self-control by playing with something else or stepping out of the room, like step away from temptation, distract yourself with something else. I don't know. This is me just like spitballing here. This is kind of what we've been talking about with our kids, but honestly, I need advice in this area too because it feels like It feels like a never-ending battle. Did you ever fear bringing a child into a broken world? If yes, how to overcome that? There are times when it has scared me a little bit, but then I remind myself that, you know, God created these children to be in this world right now. Just gotta trust in the Lord, trust that He knows what He's doing. He has a purpose for them and He has made them for this time right now. How do you manage your emotions when someone is having a tantrum or a meltdown? Oh, that's a tough one. My first reaction when someone is having a meltdown is to have a meltdown myself. I think that's just in our human nature, is that if someone is screaming, we just want to tell them to be quiet, right? But I've really been trying to understand the reason behind the meltdown. Whatever it is that's causing the meltdown is a huge deal to them. And if it's a huge deal to them, it should be a huge deal to me. If the big things to them now aren't a big deal to me, they're not gonna come to me with their problems when they're older and are actually dealing with really big stuff, because they're gonna think it's not important to me, right? It's just something I really try and keep in mind. But when your child is having a tantrum, a meltdown, that is the perfect time for you to be an example to them of how to handle your emotions, because your emotions are going everywhere like crazy, just like theirs are. You have an opportunity to model the behavior you're trying to teach your children and how to manage their emotions. So I'll do things like take a deep breath. I'll take a minute to pray before I speak to them. I will try and remain as calm as I possibly can and let them know that emotions are okay. Like being angry, there's nothing wrong with being angry, but there are appropriate ways in how to express and manage those emotions. How do you deal with toddler tantrums, especially in public setting? When I first became a mom, this was horrifying to me. To have my child screaming, kicking, making a huge fuss, having everyone look at me, it's embarrassing, and it was humiliating to me, and it was something I had to get used to, honestly, is having people stare and judge, because that's what people are gonna do. They're gonna stare and they're gonna judge. But honestly, let them stare, let them judge, because telling my child to stop it when they're having a tantrum, a meltdown, emotions, is telling them to bottle up their feelings and ignore them. And that's not what I'm trying to teach them. So I try and handle it as patiently and calmly as I can, try to get down on their level, try to talk to them and comfort them and work it out, and to not be afraid of having people stare, and to not be afraid of having my child maybe scream really loud for a while, because sometimes that's just what happens. Yeah, honestly, there are so many more good questions. I just can't get to them all right now. Like, I've been filming for an hour, so I'm gonna cut it off here, but I will sit down and I will film some more soon, hopefully. Hope this was uplifting and encouraging to you. I just want to encourage you mamas that you are doing a fantastic job. Keep it up. Keep learning, keep growing. There'll be some seasons when you feel like you are inadequate, or that you're losing your patience more than you'd like to, or that your self-control is lacking, but those seasons are seasons of refinement. And you will look back and you will realize that you've learned so much from that season. You've got this. You're doing a great job. And thank you for being here and listening, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.